Hello and welcome to Connected, episode 290. It is made possible this week by our sponsors, Storyworth, Uni, and Hover. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined by Mr. Federico Vitici.
Ciao, Stephen.
Hola.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, actually. Yes, I'm very good.
I'm glad to hear that. We're also joined by our friend, Myke Hurley.
If WWDC is the week of June 22nd, it will coincide with our episode 300. So we can all wait for that.
Go 22 then. We're Team 22 now.
Team June 22 over
Yes.
here.
Yeah, there's no way it's the first week of June now. I mean, they can do it
It's
anytime.
not going to be the first week. No, not at all. It's not going to be the first week. But that's the fourth week, but it's still a full week.
I think it may be the week before. The first week of June starts with the
You
the
know
first,
it's
right?
going to be like $2.99, right? And it's just like you've ruined it for everyone.
Well, that's the most connected thing.
That's true, actually.
It would actually be perfect.
Episode 200, y'all weren't on, or whatever it was.
Yeah, episode 200, me and Federico were both on holiday.
I had John and underscore on, I think.
I think so.
Or John and Casey, I don't remember.
You haven't asked Myke how he's doing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Myke, how are you?
Terrible.
Oh, no.
You had Casey and John. Casey List and John Voorhees were your guests.
But you're terrible?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
Let's see if we can cheer you up, because we have a lot of fun nerd stuff to talk about. Can we just nerd out for an hour and a half?
Oh, yeah.
We have a bunch of follow-up, and I made a promise to y'all that I haven't been able to keep. So last time we spoke about me hooking my Mac Pro up to a bunch of, or like an old Apple Studio display, and I had some issues with that in testing, but it was something that only eBay could fix, and I hope to have that ready for y'all next week. So
Did you send it to eBay? Like,
well,
how's
no,
eBay fixing it?
I had to buy a couple things on eBay. I had this video adapter that was bad, and then this other issue. It was like, it basically all fell apart, but I really want to do it, so I plan on having that ready for next week's show. So I guess stay tuned if you're ready for that hot content.
I am.
It'll be longer than my iPod Nano Tubes video, though, I promise.
YouTube faker with your 1-minute video.
People are mad about that.
How dare you?
It wasn't even a minute. It was like, before the end card, it's like 46 seconds, and some people thought it was a teaser. I was like, nope, that's the video. It's the.
I like that thinking, right? What is it a teaser for? What is the longer video that could be done about iPod Nano tubes, which were just little rubber cases for iPod Nanos?
You learned everything you need to know in the video. There were 5 colors. It was $29 for the set, and they were terrible.
Kind of difficult to get in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah, really hard to get off. The end.
I had completely forgotten about those until. Was this a new acquisition for you? This
no.
tube?
So I can tell you what happened. So in looking for the parts I needed for the studio display project, I found a set of these in a box in my office. I didn't know I had them.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'll do a little thing on this in the meantime. And then I read about them. I was like, there's nothing here. And then I thought, I should make a video about nothing. And that's what I did.
Do you think that this is definitely going to happen more to you in your life, that you come across things you didn't know that you owned? Is that a concerning realization?
As long as it doesn't become, oh, I didn't know that there was like a 4th kid running around the house. I think that's the line. But, I got a lot of computers. Things get out of hand.
And a lot of kids.
Just 3.
So that's a lot.
It's 300% more than you. Is that how math works?
I think it's like it could be any, right? Like 3,000%.
That's a lot of computers. There's a lot of computers per capita in your house, Stephen.
Oh, yeah.
About it.
It's a very high density.
Yeah, like I have 4 computers in arm's reach right now. 5, actually. And the per capita is still way higher in your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't know.
I would like for you not only on next week's episode to come to the show with your answer about can you run the old studio display from the Mac Pro.
You want to count, don't you?
But also what is the computer per capita in the Hackett household.
Computer,
and we can make this like a universal connected standard that everybody else can convert to
the
and from.
CPC, the computer per capita?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
But like, you know how like most, not most, but like a lot of measurements have like a physical thing that they're attached to. Like, what is it? Is it like the kilogram?
Like the kilogram, which was updated last year, actually.
Where they like the kilogram is an actual thing, and then everything's measured to the kilogram.
Yeah.
Like the CPC can be, or as David in the chat room says, we could just call it the Hackett number, which is great.
The
Hackett number is the equivalent of computer per capita that all connected listeners can.
Good job.
Can
that
against.
that David in the chat room was on Mac Power Users last week.
Wow, nepotism.
All right, so I will work on that. Okay, so I need some rules. Are we just talking about computers? Does it include iPads and iPhones, or just like
what is a
course it
computer?
does.
What is a computer?
Come on.
No, I think you draw the line at iPad and up.
Okay, iPad and up.
iPad and up, so no iPhone, no watch.
No iPhone, no watch. That's how I would, because I don't think of phones as computers.
Computer. Okay, so computer. Okay.
So iPads, Apple IIs.
No video game consoles.
Yeah, that's fine. I just have a couple.
Gaming PC is a computer, though.
I don't have any of those.
But if you did, it would count.
Yeah,
It would count.
So iPads, Macs, PCs, Apple IIs.
No Apple TV.
You know how we can like make the distinction now? Like we can actually do it now. A computer is, can you attach a keyboard and mouse to it?
Well, though, that doesn't really work because if you could do that with a GameCube. So
Okay, no, but asterisk, not gaming console.
Well, that's okay. So iPad and up.
Okay.
I think we know what that means. No game consoles.
you can use a keyboard with an Apple TV, I think.
You can. No game consoles.
No mouse though.
Or set-top boxes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have a lot of those?
I will report back. Do you want... Okay. I know what I can do. I will report back next week.
Great.
That's what I'm doing with my weekend. It's counting.
What else you got to do?
It will actually be good. That's true. I can't go anywhere. That'll actually
It's
be good.
probably time to run inventory.
That's the thing. I know the inventory on my site is out of date, but I don't know how. So, because at some
you
point...
have an inventory on your website?
Yeah.
You know where you should put this database, Steven?
If you say Notion...
In Notion.
No. There is a collection. Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. 512pixels.net /project/
Have you heard of Notion? Have you heard of Notion?
Is it in Notion?
I have.
Have you heard of Notion? You should put it in Notion.
All right. So there's that page. I have it in the show notes. I will update this as well as I go through it. What about X servers?
Perfect.
They count as computers. Servers are computers.
Yes, they do.
Okay, now for some real follow-up. We've been talking about old pages on Apple's website, and Andrew pointed to us to what, frankly, is an amazing page because it is completely intact. It is the feedback page for Aperture. So let me just read you some from this page, if I may. To contact the Aperture team, begin by selecting your feedback or request type. Use the form below to send us your comments. We read all feedback, but are unable to respond to each submission individually. Here are the request types. Help, report a problem with a book. Aperture doesn't support my camera. I have a feature request. Federico, you will be happy to know, because I'm sure you've forgotten, I wrote a thing on Mac Stories about Aperture that we can have in the show
Yes, I
notes.
do remember that. I also remember that.
Uh-huh.
And in using this website, I also found a link to the Aperture discussion forums. And I will tell you that this person named Terrence Devlin has been very active on the forums. He's got a bunch of... Terrence has a bunch of issues with Aperture. For example, difference in file size between Aperture versus QuickTime, and then all caps, please help. And it was only viewed 18 times. So
Is this a recent post?
this is a recent post from yesterday. So
Wow.
yes, so there's still
Give me a link. Give me a link.
there's still people here.
Wow.
still-
What help do you think you're going to get for this software now?
I
Right?
don't know, but for example, let's see, fellow Aperture user Isaac had a potential solution for Terrence. I feel like this is a whole drama going on here. I already sort of care about these characters in these forums.
There's a lot of people having conversations.
Leone
Guys,
is also quite
yeah.
active.
We covered
Here?
this. Remember, we made fun of Aperture once, and people yelled at us for like a month who were still using it. Like,
Oh my God.
remember?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was this podcast.
oh yeah, we had a whole thing, and then it was like we did like a lot of follow up.
Yeah. So we're just going to stop here. We're just going to walk away.
I feel like it's too late at this point.
Next in follow up, you can buy a refurbished 2019 Mac Pro if that's what you want to do. They're out there.
How
you can save
how
some
much
money.
can you save?
Well, according to the Mac Rumors article, you can save $4,000 on a 16-core model that happens to be on sale. Now that computer's $23,000, but hey, it's $4,000.
Big savings.
Yeah, yeah. So
Sure.
Yeah, any savings big if you're starting at that level.
It's true.
Sure.
That's economies of scale right there.
It's up to like 15% on some models, which is cool. You know, if you were in the market and wanted a little bit of a discount. This brought up a question, though. I don't know who put this in the show notes. Someone in the show notes asked, Myke asked, have we ever bought a refurbished computer? Myke, let's start with you.
I haven't, but I've looked at it a bunch of times. And the buying refurbished from Apple has always been a thing of like, every time I've looked at it, it's never been that much of a saving. Now, like, this may have changed over time. Like, I mean, this is a good saving. 15% is a good saving because that's a lot of money if you're spending like 15 grand on a computer or whatever. But just like whenever I have been in the market, it's either been A, the thing that I want they haven't got, right? Or it's like B, it's not worth it. So,
Yeah.
but I would do it, right? Like if I was buying, like, if I wanted one of these Mac Pros, like if I wanted to buy a Mac Pro, I would get a refurbished Mac Pro. For sure I would. Because that's a lot of money you could save.
Yeah, I never buy anything used because I don't like the thought of the previous owner having done something weird with
I
that
understand
object.
that. I
I
totally
knew you were
understand
going to
that.
say that. I knew that was going to be your answer.
One of the reasons I put this question in the show notes is because I wanted Federico's answer because I thought it would be amusing.
The way I am, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I sell stuff to other people, but I cannot buy anything from other people because I'm always gonna like that object, whether it's like, I don't know, a video game console or a computer or like a watch or something. It's gonna be on my desk and I'm gonna look at it when it's night and it's dark and I'm gonna be thinking, what has your owner done to you before you came to me? And I'm like, I can't stand that thought, honestly. Yeah.
If I was buying from like randocomputerstore.com, I would be a little like concerned about that too. But buying refurb from Apple, I would feel okay about it. You know?
Yeah. I've bought several refurbished computers and have definitely encouraged people who ask me in buying a machine to do that. They replace or at least make sure everything is like up to standard. It's warranted as new. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I've definitely have done it and would do it again. If I was looking for something that was on the refurb store, I would check there first. But a lot of people who ask me, I would point them there.
I'm now buying randocomputerstore.com, by the way.
Oh boy, where are you going to point it?
To the relay store.
I was,
the relay store.
Yes, perfect. There we go. I was wondering like whether to put it to the Apple Refurb store, but the Relay FM store is a better place.
Yeah, that is relay.fm/merch out there if you want a cool relay hat.
randocomputerstore.com.
Yeah. Look
So
at these
much
cool
better.
shirts we have for sale.
Do we have shirts for sale?
Yeah. Yeah, we have
Oh,
the
yeah, we
we have the
do. Oh,
iPod
yeah, we
one
do.
and the hat and the
Challenge
coin.
That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Challenge coin.
I've got one right here. You want to hear it?
Honestly, there could just be anything.
Yeah. Like, I got one here. Do you want to hear it? Oh, do you want to hear this one?
Okay. Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear this one? That was my phone, by the way.
Can a coin do this?
Have you swallowed the coin? Oh, it's doing the Inception thing.
Nice.
Oh my-
All I know is you give it to Jason Snell, we can't flip it. That's all I know.
Well, I don't think Jason Snell can flip a coin. I don't think it had anything to do with the challenge coin. I was okay. All right. It is the year of Steven, but I will admit this could be the week of Myke.
Oh, wait. No. This is the year of Myke. because now there was a Bloomberg report saying that among other things, that the iPhone 12 will feature a smaller notch, which is your boy's risky pick.
Was it?
It's my risky pick.
Oh
yes,
my
that's
God.
my Ricky.
We are so ruined.
Yep,
Oh,
that
no.
means.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
That's my Ricky.
There it is.
Where is it?
Wait, it's on page
Rick
13 of the Google Doc.
And also, I just want to say, my other pick, my only remaining pick that needs to be scored other than my Ricky, says the 2020 iPhone line will feature at least one 5G phone. Do you know what else is in that report from Mark Gurman talking about 5G coming to the iPhone line? I'm going to sweep it.
Of course, all my picks need to be address deal, but I think I'm still in a pretty good position.
I don't know if you are.
I think I'm positioning for a late 2020 sweep of the Rickies.
Right, but how late 2020? Because I'm sweeping it by September, so.
Well, you know, gotta wait until the end.
Apple Podcast app launches on Android. Oh, Stephen.
Oh, poor Steven.
No, man. It's coming.
Is it?
Yeah, my picks don't look great. 5G, smaller notch, and the iPhone 12 would share design cues from the USB-C iPad Pro, which would I think would be awesome.
Right?
Yeah,
That's exciting.
that's the way to go. Yeah, I believe we saw the mock-ups for an iPhone with the same industrial design when the 2018 iPad Pro came out, and I want to say that maybe it was somebody will find the tweet somewhere. I think it was Sebastian DeWitt. He works on Highlight, the camera app. He shared like the next day of the iPad Pro 2018 announcement, like a mock-up of like, hey, what would an iPhone look like with this design? And everybody was like, yep, we love it.
Do it.
Let's go back to that. Do it. And 2 years later, looks like this is finally happening. Mm-hmm. So combined with a smaller notch, I mean, this gonna look real nice, I think.
I think so too. I always loved the 4S, 5 sort of era, and I think that it would be really great to go back to flat size. And I mean, every time I look at my USB-C iPad Pro, especially when it's out of the case, which I think it probably will be a lot more once the keyboard case shows up.
Yeah,
it is just fantastic looking. And I was thinking earlier, like, well, would it be weird to like have a notch and those flat sides? But if they bring over the rounded corners and stuff, like you'd get the best of both worlds. I'm really excited to see what this could look like. Myke, tell us about languages and keyboards.
Oh, you remember on the last episode, I was talking about the fact that I thought that I had my keyboard, my software keyboard, set incorrectly on my iPad because I had the American style return key. Mm-hmm. Well, I heard from a bunch of listeners in my merry old country here who said that this was a change in 13.4 because Apple did something. They put the British style return key into the software keyboard. So it wasn't that I wasn't used to seeing it. It just didn't exist before. So
ever?
It was a change in 13.4.
Never had been in the software keyboard?
I think it might have been the iPad Pro software keyboard. Remember they changed it? Remember the iPad Pro keyboard was completely different?
Yeah.
Right? And I think they never made the British return key on the software keyboard before 13.4.
That's such a weird, like, how does that even happen? You're making a
No
keyboard
idea.
and you just forget. Like, I don't know. Well, that was a lot of follow-up, but we're only halfway through it. Someone take a break and tell us about our first sponsor. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Storyworth, the easiest way to share your family stories. We all have relatives that are far away. I've got a bunch of family in the next state over that I only get to see every couple of years, and that could be tough, right? It's hard to keep up and hard to learn from them. And Storyworth is a fun and meaningful way to engage with your family. It's a great way to stay in touch, especially with those relatives you might not get to see that often. Every week, Storyworth emails your family member different story prompts with questions that you'd never think to ask, like, what have been some of your life's greatest surprises? What is one of the riskiest things you've ever done? And you just get these amazing stories back from them. I went through the Storyworth project with a family member a few years ago and learned a lot about their childhood that I just didn't know, including things like a house that burned down and a construction project I never heard about. Just these little stories that would never come up on their own, but when you have thoughtful questions, tons of stuff just comes to the surface. And what's cool is, after a year, Storyworth will compile all of their answers, plus a photo that you choose, and they will ship you a beautiful keepsake book that is accumulation of all of those questions and answers. It's really pretty cool. Connect with family and discover untold stories with Storyworth. Get started right now without the need for shipping by going to storyworth.com/connected, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/connected for $10 off. Our thanks to Storyworth for their support of this show and Relay FM. All right, follow-up part 2. For a long time, y'all have been talking about the Moshi matte iPad screen protectors. And after the last time we talked about it, I ordered one and put it on my iPad Pro.
That's like, why?
You guys spoke so highly of it, and I wanted to check it out. And I've got to say, it is really nice. For a couple of reasons. I like the matte finish a lot. I learned when I was cleaning my iPad screen that I have quite a few little scratches on it, and it covers all of those. And I like the way it feels. I'm a huge fan. You guys were totally right.
I feel like there's a catch somewhere. Do you just agree with us?
No, it's great. I really like it.
Have you seen that it creates snow bubbles when you install it?
Yeah. How does it go on?
I don't know. Yeah, it's really nice. John Voorhees mentioned, or maybe it was Myke. I think it was Myke. Either John or Myke anyway. That they removed the Moshi cover and realized how nicer and brighter the iPad's display was. It was you. And I get that, but it's still like, it just looks so much nicer that it doesn't have all those reflections on the screen. And also, I don't see the smudges on my fingerprints as much. That's also a very nice plus of having the iVisor. But yeah, my comment stands. If Apple were to make a much more expensive iPad Pro with a matte option, I would totally go for it. But they're never going to do it.
No. So. And I haven't watched really much content on it yet. So I am kind of curious, do I feel like it's a bit muted if I watch a movie or a TV show or something? But so far, just in everyday use, it's great.
Yeah. The only other thing that I notice is like every now and then, like I tap it and it feels like there's a slight, there's movement. You know
a gap?
Yeah.
Like a gap.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah. But it isn't all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've seen that. It's not all the time, and it's not everywhere on the screen. I think there's like certain areas when only sometimes there's a gap, and I wonder if it like depends on like external conditions like humidity or temperature. Maybe, I don't know how physics work.
But whatever it is, the no air bubbles is just bananas. Like I've taken it off one iPad and put it on another one, right? Like it's just I don't understand how.
Yeah,
it works.
imagine doing that with the Paperlike. You
gotta,
like
it would be impossible.
block your entire afternoon just to install the Paperlike. It's like it's in my calendar. Install and remove Paperlike.
I hate the installation process. It's just it's bubbles everywhere.
Yeah. So moving on to follow-up, I am very thankful to everybody who sent me their recommendations for potential Notion use cases. So last week I asked Connected listeners if you're using Notion, and if you have an interesting setup, if you're using Notion in a bunch of interesting ways, let me know because I'm curious. I want to understand how people use Notion. And I think after having seen so I got a bunch of DMs because I now have my DMs open they go into the separate. Every once in a while, it's nice that somebody sends me something that I have not discovered myself.
Okay.
Most
you
of the time,
two have
most
both
people
done this, so I'm gonna do this.
Most of the time, most people send me links and they're like, "Oh, I bet Vitici will like this," and I'm like, "Buddy, I already have the beta since 5 months." But every once in a while, and I mean, I always reply with saying, "Nice, thank you, I appreciate it." But every once in a while, somebody comes to me with a real gem. And that's why I keep my DMs open. And also, it's very nice that club members, if they have an issue, they can get in touch with me directly. So
you want to be doing support in your DMs? The email is surely better for that.
But DMs is faster, and I can also have I can have the little reactions now with the thumbs up and the heart.
So how does it work? Is it like Instagram?
Yeah, they go into a separate inbox.
Yeah, it's called message requests.
Yeah. So
okay, yeah, that's like Instagram. It didn't used to be like that.
No.
They used to just show up.
Yeah, but now they're going to... Well, they show up in TweetDeck, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll use it.
Yeah, okay. So in Twitter, it's fine. So it's very nice because, like I said, I actually discovered some pretty nice and interesting like apps and articles via the open DMs. So keep sending them. Notion. So I have some takeaways based on what people sent me. So the vast majority of folks who got in touch with me about Notion, they have some kind of dashboard as their like main page in Notion. And if you've ever seen these Notion pages that are like multi-column pages that use like emoji to separate different sections, and these dashboards, they have these sections like task management and then habit tracking, and then they have like inspirational quotes and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a dashboard where or maybe also people like have a section where they keep track of like movies I've watched and all that kind of stuff. So very, very much geared toward.
What does he mean by like a dashboard though? I don't.
So in Notion, one of the gimmicks of Notion is that everything can be a page.
Yeah.
So the idea would be you create like a master page, like a home page
that links to everything.
Yeah, exactly. You separate it into multiple sections, and each section links to another page, and you can go into that page to fill out the data.
Oh, yeah. They have templates that look kind of like this.
They have templates that look like that. There are websites, like one of them is called Notion VIP. They give you templates, they give you like advanced tips, and it can get real nerdy, believe me. Like you can do formulas and you can do scripting with like if conditions in Notion. It's kind of wild. But the idea would be that like a lot of people, and usually they tend to be students, they have these dashboards where they can keep track of their tasks and like habit tracking routines. And I don't really work like that because I don't want to use Notion as a task manager. I have a task manager and I don't want to use it as a note-taking app because I have Apple Notes. And I've tried habit trackers like drink water and I don't know. I don't like the idea of having like this all-in-one solution that is not a dedicated app, because I'm very much of the native app mindset, I guess. The other common use case is just using tables. Using tables in Notion a lot. People create all sorts of databases for movies, for games. People keep their read later lists in Notion, and they organize them with tables. I understand the appeal of tables. Tables, give you a sense of structure, and especially when it's like based on the database approach of Notion with formulas and the fact that everything can be linked together. I get it, but to me, I always get the sense that people do this because the process of putting it together is more fun than it actually is useful.
If you enjoy putting something together, you're more likely to keep it up, right?
Yeah. Also,
so that becomes the process.
People use it like as a CRM a lot, and I've only recently learned what CRM stands for, and I don't have a need for a CRM myself. I'm not saying that Notion is a product that people shouldn't use. I'm just saying that I understand that a lot of folks love Notion and they use it a lot, but it's not for me. There's a scenario in which Notion was a fully native iPad experience, and I could imagine myself using it. But because even though it's gotten better on the iPad,
it's close, but it's not there.
It still feels like a web app, and it doesn't support, this idea of like, yeah, you can use it as a task manager, you can use it as a note-taking app, you can use it for research. I always tend to prefer apps that are dedicated to that specific task.
Same.
So, so I really struggle with this all-in-one approach. But it was definitely like an eye-opening experience, like seeing all the crazy things that folks are doing in Notion. It reminds me to an extent of what some people do with Airtable. I do have a couple of databases in Airtable. One that I actually use every week. It's like this database where I keep track of the shortcuts that I've made for Club Mac Stories members. But that's basically the only thing I do with Airtable. And I only do it because I have a shortcut that saves data into that database. And it still works. Like I created this shortcut in the days of workflow, and it survived the shortcuts transition, and I never bothered switching systems. I probably could, but I just figured, I'm just going to keep using Airtable with this. But yeah, Notion, so far, not really for me. I prefer to use native apps.
I use it. I don't use it exclusively, but I use it instead of Evernote, right? And like I'm using them both. I was using Evernote before it, like light touch, like just keeping a bunch of stuff for the business I'm building, Cortex brand, like keep some admin in there, some general ideas, some thoughts. It's just like a place to put everything in one bucket, so it wasn't in all of my other places, because I kind of wanted to keep it separate. And it works great for that, but I don't access it very often.
Yeah.
But I just preferred it to Evernote. I mean, I spoke about my problems with Evernote, right?
Yeah.
They both have their issues with like the not feeling completely native, but at least every time I open Notion, the page doesn't flash white bright in my eyes. So,
There is another scenario in which I could see myself use Notion a lot, and that is when they actually release an API with like Zapier integration, for example. Because right now we're using Trello at MacStories, especially for the club MacStories stuff. We have an entire system that I designed like 4 years ago at this point, where people can submit questions and requests and home screens and all sorts of stuff, and they get automatically filed into different Trello boards, actually into different Trello lists of the same board using Zapier. So it's a system that I created in 2015, and it still works amazingly well. I could see using Notion for this if Notion had, because I think it has more features than Trello in terms of like linking like different items together. I bet I could go crazy with that kind of automation, but Notion does not have an API and does not have any sorts of like web automation feature with like Zapier or IFTTT. So when they do, I will consider it for that, because I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. I'm going to have much more control than I have with Trello. So that's another scenario in which Notion could be a product for me. But right now, it's not.
While we're on the topic of Federico doing things, do you want to tell us about your charging mat that showed up?
Yes. So remember how it was during CES? I remember one morning I was in bed and I was just scrolling through my unread tweets and RSS, and I saw this post probably on The Verge about like this wireless charger that promised to offer AirPower-like functionality, but not from Apple. It was from a company called Zense, and so I think I pre-ordered it. I guess and we talked about it on the show, and we said, "Oh, this is never gonna ship," or "when it's gonna ship, it's gonna catch on fire," and we were all, "Ha ha ha! This is so funny."
Or as Myke said, definitely has a fan in it.
Myke said definitely has a fan in it. So the thing, after many months, arrived surprisingly. So this company was not like it's not a scam. It was a real company, turns out, and they, the product arrived. Well, because I never heard of Zense before, so the thing arrived a few days ago, and I opened it and I realized, oh, this is one thick charger.
It's a thick boy.
It's a thick king. If you recently watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you will get the reference. Yes, so it's a very thick charger. There's pictures on Twitter that you can take a look at. And as Myke said, it comes with a fan. It has vents, multiple vents, actually.
That just instills so much faith in me. Oh.
So the thing is, I put this charger on the my nightstand. It's a metal nightstand, which I thought, this bodes well in terms of like fire extinguishing situation. It's not a wooden nightstand, it's a metal nightstand. So worst case scenario, it's gonna slowly melt, but not necessarily catch on fire immediately if there are any issues. At least that's how I think fires work. But as soon, so you plug it in. Actually, very nice build quality. I want to say very nice build quality. Very nice charger. Very nice USB-C cable for powering the charging mat. The problem is, as soon as you put one device on top of the charger, could be an AirPods case, could be an iPhone, could be another Android phone if you have one. The fans kick up and they start, humming. It starts making noise. And to be fair, it is true that you can put an iPhone or an AirPods case in many more orientations, like random orientations than, say, a Nomad charging case, for example. It does grant you more placement freedom because of the multiple coil design of the Zen's charging mat. But the problem is, as soon as you put an iPhone, as soon as I put mine down, I could hear this noise going. And I thought, my first reaction was, oh no, Silvia's gonna kill me. Because having this thing hum all night long by my nightstand is a recipe for disaster. People have told me on Twitter, oh, it's a white noise machine. Why don't you can use it anyway. See, we're not those kinds of people.
White noise machines are great if you like white noise machines. If you don't, it's just a noise.
It's just a noise, and we don't want any we don't want any noises. And I especially don't want, this little rocket ship on, that's making like an engine noise on my nightstand. Yeah, it just sounds dangerous to have a charging mat that hums along because it's got a fan inside. It's like I don't want it. I just don't want it. And so
Starting to sound like me.
I put it back in its box, and it's now outside in the storage. Yeah.
You're not going to use it at all?
Oh no.
That's probably the safest bet.
I'm gonna have to find some poor soul to send it to.
You got John's address.
If they want it. John's address.
Federico's DMs are open.
Yeah.
So
if you want it, send him a DM. He'll ship it to you.
It's too bad because I really like the theory of it, not so much for the realization, because it just, again, even if you put your AirPods down, the fans start spinning. And I cannot imagine what's gonna happen if I put my AirPods on the phone and the Apple Watch, because I wanted to be like super fancy and go for the Apple Watch compatible version that lets you, it has a USB port where you can put in an extra dongle for the watch, and then the watch is also gonna charge. So what's gonna happen if I put all at once on the mat? Is it actually gonna take off? Can I even fall asleep with this thing going on my nightstand? So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Air power rumors heating up again. No pun intended. You've been seeing that? Lots of people saying it's coming again.
I don't see Apple doing that.
We'll see.
Well, there's this theory going on that I've seen on Twitter that there's a new prototype that is using a more recent Apple system on a chip that is doing a bunch of intelligent things to manage heat and power allocation, that kind of stuff. And I mean, I would be surprised if Apple didn't think of this before. I don't see why this could be a new thing, but I guess we'll see.
So one of the people reporting on this quite a lot is John Prosser, who's someone who I've been seeing a lot more recently with leaks, and it seems like he's been pretty. I mean, he was accurate about the iPhone SE stuff that we're going to talk about later on. So.
Yeah, but it just feels like a weird thing to be fixated upon if you're Apple, to absolutely have to figure out at all costs how to make a wireless charger.
Why
doesn't at this point? Why insist on that thing?
If you were in charge of that product, you're probably pretty embarrassed, and I can imagine not wanting to let it go.
I mean, sure, but there are worse things to be embarrassed about.
I would agree with you, but if you feel like it's possible, maybe you keep trying it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I mean, I'm definitely going to get one if they do it. That's for sure. So hopefully it's not going to hum and spin.
Yeah, I just wonder how they talk about it, because everyone knows what happened to the first go-round. This one, we figured it out. It just seems strange.
Well, if they are doing it, they won't talk about it before it's ready.
Oh, definitely. It's just going to show up one day.
Maybe in the end, Myke was right. After all, maybe wireless charging was a bad idea.
Oh, my.
So we don't have time this week to get into the Apple and Google COVID-19 stuff. They're working together to do contact tracing and a whole bunch of other stuff. But Myke, you and Jason covered it on Upgrade 293, so we'll just point people there. If you haven't heard that yet, y'all do a really good job explaining what Apple and Google are up to, the possibilities of it, the possible ramifications. I think you covered it really well.
Complex, evolving, big topic, and I didn't want to do it again. So we've done it once. It's an upgrade. We're going to talk about emoji after this break.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Ooni. Ooni is the world's #1 pizza oven company. They make surprisingly small ovens that are powered by your choice of wood, charcoal, or gas, letting you make restaurant-quality pizza in your own backyard. They're all super easy to use and super portable. You have to see for yourself, they will fit in any outside space. They can reach temperatures up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit or 500 degrees Celsius if you're Federico, which enables you to cook restaurant-quality pizza in as little as 60 seconds. It's that high temperature that separates average pizzas that you make in a home oven from the quality you can get in Ooni pizza ovens. It's at least twice the heat. One of their newest models is the Ooni Coda 16. It's a gas-powered oven that can cook up to 16-inch pizzas and has an innovative L-shaped burner at the back that gives you even heat distribution. Their ovens start just $199 with free shipping to the US, UK, and EU. And Myke, I believe that you've had some experience with this.
Yeah, so I have eaten pizza from an Ooni oven in the past because I actually went to the home of the founders, Christian and Darina, and it was amazing. And then recently, well, I would have done this again if I was able to leave my home. But Christian called me on FaceTime and showed me how great the Ooni 16 is, and was able to see in real time that it cooked a pizza in an incredibly quick time. I couldn't believe how fast it cooked this pizza. And it's because of, as you mentioned, Stephen, the heat. It's like 60 seconds and a pizza was done. These things are really amazing. And I've been seeing them more and more on my Twitter timeline recently. This is like a great thing for right now. People have time at home. They want to learn something new. Pizza, everybody loves pizza. You can get one of these ovens. They're super small. You can put it in your backyard and you can cook pizza whenever you want.
Listeners of this show can get 10% off their purchase of an Ooni pizza oven, which is $50 off that Ooni Coda 16 we just spoke about. Just go to ooni.com, that's OONI.com, and use the code CONNECTED at checkout. Ooni also makes a great range of accessories, from peelers to cutters and even oven tables. Americans buy over 3 billion pizzas per year and consume approximately 350 slices of pizza every second. That's a number I didn't know before this. That's quite the stat.
It's a lot of pizza.
Mm-hmm. So why not make some of these yourself at home? Once you try it, you'll never look back. Ooni is the best way to bring restaurant-quality pizza to your own backyard. So go to ooni.com and use the code CONNECTED for 10% off. Our thanks to Ooni for their support of the show. All right, Myke, explain the great emoji cancellation.
All right, so because of COVID-19, Unicode 14, so version 14, has been delayed by at least 6 months because the Unicode Consortium is not going to be getting together to make their ruling on what emoji will be added into the Unicode spec. But Unicode 14 is the 2021 set of emoji, not the 2020 set of emoji. That is Unicode 13, which we're still going to see later this year. So we will still be able to, in this year, 2020, play the wonderful emoji game that we play every year where Federico has to guess the emoji. But it may not happen in 2021, as it's most likely that these emoji will come out in 2022 now instead, because there's always like a time period. There's like a delay in where the emoji is set, and then all of the platform vendors have to actually go and design them. There is a possibility of a Unicode 13.1, which would be a smaller set of emoji that are iterations of previous emoji. So we've spoken about this before, Zwidge, ZWG emoji, where basically it's not that there's a new emoji code point. It's that you take two existing emoji, put them together, and the platform vendors will create a piece of artwork for that. An example of this is the polar bear, which is coming this year, I believe. but all that emoji actually is a bear emoji and a snowflake emoji, which behind the scenes is translated into a polar bear. So this is where like the differences of emoji of like what is in the Unicode spec, like written into the spec, and then what is then and like displayed on devices. And if, for example, if somebody sent you a polar bear emoji but you hadn't updated to the new version of iOS, it would show as a bear and a snowflake. You may have seen this in the past. We're talking about Slack again. Like if you paste in an emoji that's maybe one of the newer skin tone or gender based emoji, you will see two emoji in its place sometimes, right? You might have like a block next to one. That's because it's two emoji that have been put into one, but they're represented on the platforms as one emoji. So there may be a 13.1 in 2021, but there won't be anything like really awesome in that release, most likely. It's not that you're not going to get like the crow emoji, which was expected for Unicode 14, for example. So unfortunately, emoji will be delayed. We will get a real idea as to just how much of iOS adoption is because of emoji, because it will most likely be at some point in 2022. So there will probably be 2 emoji releases in 2022, one earlier in the year and one later in the year.
Am I the only one thinking this? Can they work from home? The Unicode people?
Yes, they do. And they can. The difference is the consortium is made up of people from different companies, and the consortium has just decided to wait. Like they're just deciding to wait because there's so much going on right now. I think it's kind of like,
oh right, and we couldn't use a bit of fun, right? See, I don't. There's this. No, this is just my opinion, and I take all responsibility for this. Okay. But it's also a thing that I see on Italian TV, and I don't get it. Like, yes, it's important to focus on the news and share information and useful information, but it's like all fun has been removed from Italian television programming, right? Everything has been. It's almost as if they want you to think about the virus all day long. And I think, we could all just use some fun. It's not necessarily to think about, this incredible tragedy that we're all pretty aware of at this point. And I think actually now the Italian TV networks have started to catch on the complaints from people. They are resuming some kind of like entertainment towards the end of the month. So like by next week, some entertainment programs are resuming with a new format, working from home, like what the folks at Saturday Night Live have done, I believe, in the US a few days ago over Zoom. But it's like more than ever, I think people could use some distractions and some fun. And so I totally understand if folks have issues, like in terms of like going to the office or like difficulties in collaborating.
The official Unicode line on this is that, so they have said they rely heavily on volunteers to do their work, and the people themselves are like, I'm too busy to give you the free time right now.
Okay. But really, I was mostly, I believe the Unicode.
But I do understand the point that you're making. Like, we don't have to remove all fun from the world. People need and deserve distractions.
You can be careful and in tune with the news and mindful of your surroundings and what's happening, while also trying to live a normal life.
These two things can exist together. Yeah. I agree with you.
No emoji next year, though.
No emoji in 2021.
But this year we're going to play the game.
It will be known. 2021 will be known as the no emoji year.
All right, we'll figure something
2020, we'll still get emoji. And then 2022, there'll be more emoji than you can shake an emoji stick at, because we're going to get early and late year releases for emoji. Let's talk about some iPad keyboards. The Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro, the pre-orders went live today. Woo! Surprisingly, this was considered to be a May product, but it's going to be shipping beginning next Monday, April 20th. So I'm very excited about that. That is when mine is shipping sometime between the 20th and the 22nd. If it's anything like my iPad Pro, I expect it to arrive on the 20th because I had a similar thing, like a 2-day window, but it arrived at the beginning of that window.
Right now, as of this recording, in the US at least, the dates have slipped from the 24th to May 1st. So they've moved a little bit already.
Both sizes, and I was very actually surprised to see a massive amount of layout options available to buy.
Oh, but that's always the case.
But remember, we were talking about this was a couple of weeks ago. Like we were talking about, like if it was going to be constrained, that
right.
there may not be those all available at once, like the first Magic Keyboard, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see that 1 to 2 weeks of shipping right now in different territories. It's available for both iPads now, so the 11 and the 12.9. Just as a reminder, this works for all of the flat-sided iPad Pros 2018 and 2020. I am convinced that my co-hosts will be really bothered about the camera cutout not matching, but we can wait until next week for that decision. I'm assuming I know you both bought them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
Yep, I got mine too. As I mentioned, so I'm really excited. I'm very excited. So I'm going to be so much balance testing, you can't even believe it.
Yeah. I had a feeling this was going to happen today for some reason. I don't know. But I was ready on the product page.
You're an oracle.
Yeah, it's one of my new powers.
One of.
I was waiting. One of the many. I was waiting on the product page, just refreshing, and I had my whole strategy laid out in front of me again. So iPhone and iPad, one on cellular, one on Wi-Fi, both logged into my account, both ready with Apple Pay. And the iPad saw it first, so that worked. I double-checked multiple times, actually triple, quadruple checked that it was the US English layout, and so it's coming next week, so it didn't slip for me. I was very happy about that. I'm very excited to actually try this out and see just how heavy it is and how it feels in terms of like using it as a laptop on my lap. I want to see just how stable it is. That's going to be important, I think. So, but I'm also going to use it at a desk, of course. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm most keen to find out what it's like as a laptop, because at a desk, I'm going to use my current desk arrangement mostly. It's like this product for me, I want to be a laptop-like device. So that will be its primary use for me. So I'm really keen to see what it looks like. I mean, it will also be wonderful for traveling, right? Because any desk that I sit in front of, I'll be able to use my device in a much nicer kind of setup. But when I'm at home, I will mostly be using it like this on the couch or whatever. So I want to. That's what I'm most excited about, and hoping that it will perform really well as a laptop computer. Talking of laptop computer, Jason Snell, and I saw a few reviews, but Jason posted a review of the Bridge Pro Plus, and I know, Federico, you have one of these as well, and I don't believe you've written anything or are planning on writing anything, so would you like to give your thoughts here?
It was a footnote in my story from 2 weeks ago.
Was it? I didn't notice that.
It was.
Clearly, I don't read the footnotes.
Footnotes have the best stuff in them.
Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you, Michael.
I read it in an RSS reader, and sometimes footnotes are not like as easy in RSS readers.
Let's go with that. Okay.
I did read this. I read the whole thing.
In an RSS reader?
Yes, in Reader.
Why do you hate my website? Well, anyway. So yeah, it's not. I'm really sad about this because it's not. For me, it is not a good keyboard and trackpad combo. The main issue, I mean, the keyboard is good. The keyboard is fine. Same build quality as the previous Bridge model, which worked well for me. The keyboard, I believe, is literally the same. So the keys feel the same. The backlight illumination is the same. Powered by USB-C, so that's fine. The main problem is the trackpad, because it's not really a trackpad. So Bridge, and this is what happens when you try to beat Apple at its own game and then Apple Sherlocks you. Bridge announced this keyboard back in the days of the accessibility mouse integration for assistive touch. So before 13.4, before we had any idea that Apple would actually do the native cursor during the iPadOS 13 cycle, Bridge announced this Pro Plus keyboard that featured a trackpad, but it was really a mouse. So the trackpad uses the mouse framework, connection, whatever, to simulate being a trackpad. But it's not really one, because it does not support, for example, multi-touch gestures. If you buy this product thinking that it's gonna work like a MacBook, you're gonna be disappointed for two primary reasons. One, as I said, it is not a multi-touch. Well, actually, three reasons. It's not a multi-touch trackpad, so all 3 finger gestures are out. You will not be able to use them. And those, if you're familiar with iPadOS 13.4, you know they are essential to navigate across the iPad's interface and use multitasking. Go back home, open the app switcher, do all those kinds of, switch between apps. All of those gestures cannot be used. The second problem, there's some weird bugs. I don't know if it's in the keyboard's firmware or if it's in iPadOS, where not even just scrolling with the cursor via the trackpad of the Magic Keyboard works correctly. Sometimes the cursor is just stuck on the screen and you try to scroll and nothing happens, and a fraction of a second later the page scrolls all the way to the bottom. We're going even further than the bounds of the page. It's a super weird visual glitch. Other times, just it's not as responsive as a Magic Trackpad, is all I'm gonna say. It doesn't feel like a real trackpad. Maybe it's because of the weird mouse translation they're doing, but it's not as reliable as the cursor of the Magic Trackpad. And the third big problem for me is that, in addition to the lack of gestures, and in addition to just being unable to reliably scroll and move the cursor, the top section of the trackpad is not clickable. If you put your finger, and it's a small trackpad, right? So it's easy to place your finger on the top section of it, but it's not physically clickable. It just doesn't click. You put your finger on it and you press.
Because it's hinged?
Yeah, it just does nothing. It's like a dead area of the trackpad.
Can you tap to click on it? So you have to physically click?
Yeah, I have to physically click and it does nothing. It doesn't move. It does nothing. And I also checked with Jason and I was like, hey, am I the only one having this problem? It's like, no, the top section of the trackpad doesn't click for me either. So when you combine these things together and then you take a look, even at just the Magic Trackpad, right? You don't have to wait for the Magic Keyboard to come at this point next week, which tells me that some people will actually have the Magic Keyboard before the Bridge Pro Plus, which is an unfortunate series of events for
That's
Bridge,
rough.
really. That's rough. But even just if you take a look at the Magic Trackpad, it is so much better than anything that Bridge could have done here. And that's because this keyboard was manufactured and designed before we even knew that iPadOS 13.4 was going to support native multi-touch trackpads. This is a personal guess. I do believe that Bridge was caught tiny bit off guard here by Apple's move, and I feel really bad for them because this has the potential to be a great product at a much cheaper entry price than the Magic Keyboard. And I do believe that there are people who are going to prefer this kind of keyboard design and keyboard layout with the different key travel, with the different clamshell design, with the hinges. I do believe that it's a good idea, but the current trackpad in the Bridge Pro Plus, it just doesn't cut it. It's just not up to the same standards as the Magic Trackpad, and I suppose to the Magic Keyboard coming next week. So I don't know how Bridge can get out of the situation. I don't think I don't think that can be recalled at this point. They're just gonna have to maybe figure out a way. I don't even know if it's physically possible for the trackpad that they have to work with the native multi-touch trackpad APIs of 13.4. I don't even know if that's possible at this point. So it's very unfortunate. I cannot recommend this keyboard. If you're an iPad user and you ask me, hey, I want a keyboard with a native trackpad, which one should I go for? In good conscience, I cannot recommend this one. And I feel very bad for Bridge because it has all the right ideas in terms of like the keyboard design and the hinge design, and it's much cheaper, right? It's so much cheaper than the Magic Keyboard, but the trackpad is just not good enough.
It is worth remembering that they have been in a bad situation before. If you remember, one of the original Bridge keyboard had terrible Bluetooth connection issues.
Yeah.
And they were able to rally up, fix it, and produce a product that was widely regarded, right? Including by me, by you, right? By Jason, swore by it. So my hope would be that they are able to pick themselves back up, get this together, and ship a second generation that will be cheaper than the Magic Keyboard and still provide a different and in some instances better experience, right? Like I believe that their design, that clamshell design, will still be better in some circumstances than the Magic Keyboard.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I am sure that it will be more stable in some instances and provide different and varying like usability and angles, right? Like and like variability than the Magic Keyboard will. But they will be probably quite different products. So I hope that they're able to do that again. But this one isn't it, unfortunately. And it you know, I said this to Jason, I say it here again. If the Magic Keyboard didn't exist, this would still be a possible product. Like it's not great, but like it's better than nothing. But now there's just such, I mean, even if trackpad mode didn't exist, right, would be probably more apt. Like if Apple hadn't done that, then it would be, you know, it would have been very different, and they would have probably been able to make more of a splash because it would have been like, well, you know, the accessibility mode is already a little bit janky.
So let's turn from that to some good news, guys. The wheels for the Mac Pro are here.
Hooray!
Yay! For a cool $699, you can get 4 wheels for your Mac Pro.
How much?
$700, Federico. $700
for 700 wheels, I assume.
$1 a wheel.
Yeah, no, it's 4 wheels, so that's $175 a wheel.
$700 for 4 wheels.
They don't even have brakes. This just rolls away. Just like the GPU options, it's cheaper to do it when you buy the computer, where the wheels are only $400, but the feet are $300, so they kind of come out in the wash a little bit.
Because you can buy the feet now too, right?
Yeah, so if you had a Mac Pro with wheels and you want to convert it to feet, that's $300.
Or if you want extra feet.
or if you damage one, I guess somehow, I don't know. But yeah, they're here, and the tool it comes with a little hex tool to undo it. Quinn Nelson in his video showed how the feet come out. It looks pretty in depth. I assume that starting on Friday when these ship, that someone will do a YouTube video showing how it works. But you can now change it out.
I'm looking forward to that because I just want to see the way that it works.
Yeah, me too. I do too. Apple notes that adding the feet will make your Mac Pro an inch taller, and swapping from the wheels to the feet will make it an inch shorter. So it's about an inch height difference, which you already knew from seeing them, photos and videos. Clearly the wheels are taller, but it's out there now. So that's the Mac Pro news.
We're all happy for you and the inevitable wheel.
I'm not buying wheels.
Yeah,
no.
You're not buying wheels. Okay.
You should buy the wheels,
$700.
You should just buy them.
I think you should buy the wheels.
I mean, but you strike me as a wheel guy.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Wow.
You should get the wheels. You should make a video about the wheels. Plus, let's just face it. We all know you're gonna buy the wheels.
Do we want to go in together?
I'll give you $150.
This is all this dance that we're doing now, or Willie or Wani buy the wheel.
Federico, will you match me $150? I'll give Steven for the wheels. Will you match it?
Sure, I will.
Wow.
There you go. So that's $300 of your wheel purchase.
Uh-huh.
But you have to be willing to spend $400. So you can think about that one.
I'll think on that. I'll let y'all know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, well, we all know it's going to happen. So we all know by next week we're going to be talking about the wheels that Steven bought. So just get it. Just let's be done with this like pretend that oh no, Steven is not buying. We don't know you're going to buy them. You just skip to next week when we talk about the wheels. So more next week is what I'm saying.
You're going to have a busy week next week. You have an inventory to do. You have dongles to assemble and wheels to buy.
Yeah. Wheels do not count as computers, for the record.
Mm-hmm. I don't think an additional 4 items is going to change the per capita number that much.
Right. Okay.
I have it will be over 100 computers. Easily.
Oh my God.
We're going to talk about the new iPhone. We've saved that to last, but first let me tell you about our final sponsor this week, and that is Hover, one of the show's longest running sponsors. When you have that big idea, you want to start a new project, have a new product, where do you go? Where's step one for you? Well, for a ton of people, including me, it's Hover.
I bought a URL during the show on Hover.
Exactly. And Myke, when you were there, let me tell you about some of the benefits you had when you bought that domain.
Oh, great. In like 25 seconds, I bought that domain.
It's super fast because they have clean UX and UI. They have free Who Is privacy, so the bad guys can't get your information.
Although everybody already knows that I own randocomputerstore.com. But
well, there
is
fine. But that's on you. That's not on Hover. That's on you.
That's true. And then they also don't get my address information, though, which is good.
I mean, I could read that. Do you want that in the ad?
Don't.
Okay.
It's fine. You don't need to worry about that for now. Maybe next time.
And look, you bought a .com, right? But if you wanted one of those wild domain names, Hover has over 300 of them to choose from. And a bunch of them are on sale all the time, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And if you had any questions, I know you didn't, but if you did, they have excellent technical support to answer any of those questions because they're dedicated to Myke to getting you online and not upselling you.
Can I just say two other things?
Sure.
One, how quick it is because I just bought another one. And two, the fact that the .store domain option was also on sale from $64.99 to $7.99. So I now also own randocomputer.store.
Oh, that's so good.
Which will also go to the same place as randocomputerstore.com.
No, Rando Computer Store should go to the other domain, and that domain should go to Relay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So randocomputer.store will redirect to randocomputerstore.com, which will redirect to the Relay FM merch.
Exactly.
I can do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you want to be like Myke and you want to score yourself a sweet domain name and start using it today, go to hover.com/connected. You'll get a 10% discount on all new purchases. Once again, that's hover.com/connected. Make a name for yourself with Hover. Our thanks to Hover for their support of this show and Relay FM. iPhone SE second generation is not the iPhone 9.
I'm sorry, Steven. You didn't get the name, did you? You didn't get it? And you were so, I mean, it looked like it was going to happen for a while, you know? Like, people were agreeing with you, but unfortunately, it didn't happen.
It was a real bummer.
Was it what was this one of Steven's predictions?
Not a scored one, but I talked about it. Okay, so let's talk about what this phone is. It is, as expected, the iPhone 8's design with basically an iPhone 11 smashed into it. So it has Touch ID, because it inherits that from the design. There's no Face ID here. It has haptic touch, but no 3D touch. That is now gone from all iPhones on sale. So goodbye, 3D touch. Do you guys miss 3D touch? I don't.
No, I was thinking about this a few days ago. I've gotten so used to the lock screen fake 3D touch buttons surprisingly quickly. So I do not... well, sometimes I think about it. I'm like, yeah, it was nicer that you could have like multiple levels of pressure, for example, if you like were pressing on a link. Some of the interactions were nicer, but overall, it's not like I'm thinking about it every day.
There are things that I miss, but mostly I'm fine with it. Like, there are some places where like they never replaced the interaction, which, you know, like for, you know, if you long press a link in messages, you can't do as many things you used to be able to do with that. Or like if you long press a link in notes, you don't get the ability to share out to the same place, but like you could always anyway. It's just not as nice as it used to be, but I will agree that I've gotten very used to it, to the point that when I wear my Apple Watch, I do not get 3D touch done correctly because I am long pressing on the Apple Watch instead of 3D touching, and of course that doesn't work because it does require force on the Apple Watch still. I wonder if they're going to change that. They should, because now it's like an inconsistent experience. But I will say overall, I'm happy to have lost 3D touch to have gained long press on my iPad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I like that things are more similar now across the platforms.
And I just like having those additional features on my iPad because it was always frustrating. And it just 3D touch was never going to work. Like applying force to that screen was just never going to work. The screen was too big. You'd be pushing the iPad over. I really like long press in those instances. So I'm happy to have let it go.
Imagine 3D touching an iPad while it's in a Magic Keyboard and floating there.
And I'm sure these were some of the reasons that they never did it, right? Because they had plans for what they wanted that product to do, and it never could have worked.
So moving on with the specs, it has the A13 Bionic system on a chip, just like the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro.
This was the biggest surprise to me of this phone.
I kind of thought they could go A12 and match the iPhone XR, which is still on sale, but this phone has got a better system on a chip than the XR, which is cool.
But what this shows you is that this will not change for a very long time again.
Yeah, this phone is going to be it's going to be like the previous SE. This phone's going to be on sale for 3 years, untouched, like at least. It has a single 12 megapixel camera with portrait mode for human subjects, so same as the XR. That's the way the XR works. IP67 rating, wireless charging, Wi-Fi 6, NFC and Express card support. No U1 chip. So that continues just to be an iPhone 11 thing.
That's too bad. I was really hoping that it would have the so useful U1 chip.
Super useful.
Or it's just going to be one of those things where like it doesn't have a U1 chip and then it's reported to have a U1 chip and then someone does a teardown and realizes there isn't one. You know, we just have like a multiple week process again.
Yeah, that's how that's going to go.
So if you buy an iPhone SE in 2020 and then eventually you also buy the Apple tags, thinking that they will work together and you lose your luggage, it's going to be lost forever. Because the SE will not.
I don't think
find them.
It's not going to be just U1. Of how that works.
Yeah, you think so?
Yes, it will work with Bluetooth. I mean, U1 will be an additional feature of the Apple tags, but they will work with Bluetooth.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, because the U1 chip is only within a certain like distance. So
yeah, maybe.
They will work, but they will be Bluetooth LE with an additional benefit of if you have a U1 chip device, you will be able to like point your phone in the direction.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be
makes the U1 all that more useless so far.
Some more spec stuff.
I'm sorry.
Like we said, it's got that rear single 12 megapixel camera. It's f1.8. The front camera is only 7 megapixel with 1080 video. The cameras basically seem pretty much in line with the XR, or kind of like in between the XR and the 11's main camera. So a big upgrade from the 8, right? This is why this phone is going to be popular, I think. People who want to keep this form factor but want a better camera. It comes in red, white, and black. Prices start at $399. That's US unlocked for 64 gigs, then $449 or $549 for 128 or 256 gigabytes. Just to compare, all iPhones start with 64 gigabytes. In the US, unlocked, they're $399 for the SE, $599 for the XR, but it's got the slower chip. The 11 starts at $699, the 11 Pro at $999, and the 11 Pro Max at $1099. So Apple is hitting the upper end and now the mid-tier market just head on again, which I think is really exciting.
So this phone is not small, right? Like people, you know, if you think of this as the iPhone SE, it's not the iPhone SE, right? Like it's the iPhone 8, which means it's also the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6S, right? Like it is that, and 7, it's that, right? Like it's that phone. It is not an iPhone 5, right? Like it is a bigger phone. So 4.7-inch screen with a home button with as Touch ID on it, right? So like it's a big phone.
In fact, the 8 cases will fit this. I mean, it is the iPhone 8 SE.
Oh yeah.
More so, like that name almost makes more sense.
So there's two things here, right? So like this is not necessarily a phone for the iPhone SE crowd. It is the phone for I want Touch ID or I want a cheap iPhone. Because if you want a small iPhone, this is not a small iPhone. It's the smallest iPhone, but it's not small.
Yeah, it's the phone for my wife because she wants Touch ID, and she doesn't want a phone any bigger than her 8.
This is great for her then. And as well, like at $399, I mean, geez, it is. I can't believe the starting price of this phone. Like, I think it's amazing. Yeah, it's really good.
Someone on Twitter pointed out that so we should say the 8 and 8 Plus are gone. They're not for sale in the store anymore. There's some floating on the refurbished store, but not new. And Apple only put out a 4.7-inch SE. The 8 Plus size is gone now. And so if that was the form factor you liked and you wanted Touch ID, but you wanted a Plus phone, you're just out of luck. You've got to move to the SE or to the 11 or 10R or something. They're only carrying forward this sort of classic iPhone 6, 7, 8 screen size.
I'm really surprised they continue to sell the 10R.
It really seems like the odd phone out, but if it weren't there, there'd be a gap from $399 to $699. It makes the 11 seem way more expensive. And so I think it's just there to hold that price point, honestly.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think this phone's going to be popular. It's not for those of us who want the latest and greatest all the time, but for those people who really like this form factor or don't, which is clearly like aren't stupid enough to spend $1,000 on a phone like the three of us are, this is fantastic. And that starting price point is great.
You just called me stupid.
All three of us,
Yeah,
though.
I take real offense to that.
I mean, I agree with that. Like, just double checking.
I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly.
Before I pat you on the back, I want to make sure you're actually right. No, this is great. I think they're going to sell a lot of these, and I think that it in a way it's a better SE than the old one was. Like I know people really loved that really small size when the iPhones got bigger, but as iPhones have gotten more expensive, there has been this sort of hollowing out of the iPhone line that didn't really compete in the mid-range, and now they can do that with a phone that is just as capable as the iPhone 11. That's fantastic. I think this is going to do really well.
Yeah, and in fact, just to give you an example, Sylvia's sister is already looking into this, I believe, because she's the kind of person that says, "Well, I want a new iPhone." She's still using a 6S, so time to upgrade. And she's like, "I don't want to spend a fortune on an iPhone. I want an iPhone that's going to last me a few years. I don't need to have the 11 Pro, whatever." It's just like, I just want a new iPhone that's going to last me for 3-4 years. And this is the perfect phone for that. She doesn't want to spend €1,000. So she's exactly the kind of person who's in the market for this phone. And I think as much as it does not excite me, not one bit.
But it's going to be a great experience for people that have it. Blazing fast, excellent camera, right? With iOS 13, we'll get 14, 15, 16. Like, it is a good phone.
Yeah.
Like, there is no denying that. You already mentioned it, but I'll say it again. Wireless charging, right? Like, it has a lot of modern features at a great price point. And, I've seen a lot of people say it this week, which is really funny. In the same week, OnePlus went super expensive.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Apple has gone super cheap, right? Like, in the sense of phones. Like OnePlus, which were always, like, the challenging, like, but you can get flagship features at budget prices, and now has like a $1,000 phone basically, and it's kind of funny to see that flip around. But this is a great product that Apple is clearly releasing post all of their iPhone slowdown. Like, this is a result of all of that, right? You want to have a phone for people that don't want the expensive phone or that don't want all of the features that come with the expensive phone, because there are people that legitimately do not want to let go of Touch ID, right? Honestly, I think that this will provide people with that device until Touch ID comes back, which I think it will in some case within the next few years, right? And then people will be able to move on. Like, this is going to be a bridging phone for those people that do not want Face ID. Probably by 2022, Apple will have a dual biometric option, right? Like, there's a lot of smoke around that. I think we've all said that we wouldn't, but I know I would like it. I think Federico, you've agreed with me on that one, at least, about having Touch ID come back in some form to have both options in the phone. I think that is great for everyone. I think, why not? And so Apple would kind of bridge the gap for people that want that, whilst also providing a cheaper phone for markets that really want a cheaper phone, or for people that want cheaper phones. So I think it's a great option.
And Apple has this really interesting page called Why Upgrade. And you basically select your phone, and it's got the iPhone SE, the first one, through the 8. And you select your phone, and then it tells you, oh, it's, 5 times faster at this. The camera is this much better. The Wi-Fi is this much better. And I think they know who is in the market for this phone. And I think it's great.
It is funny that it's just that page defaults to original iPhone SE to this iPhone SE. Why do you want to do that? Okay.
People are still hanging on to those. My brother-in-law just moved off the first generation iPhone SE 6 months ago.
And also, everyone that owns an iPhone SE only wants to buy another iPhone SE, right? That's what they want. So this means that there is currently 5 phones for sale. I wonder how many iPhones will be for sale by the end of this year.
The 10R is got to go away, right? So it's maybe iPhone SE, iPhone 11, iPhone 12 in 2 sizes, iPhone 12 Pro in 2 sizes is my guess.
Yeah. So still 5, but
shuffle.
Because
if you look at what the 10R did, the 10 is gone, the 10S, the 10S Max are gone. They've been willing to take that middle spot and collapse that all into just one phone. So, but we'll see. It's a lot of phones, man. I mean, I was writing out that list of the starting prices, and I had to double check. Did I get all of them? Is that everybody? There's a lot of stuff now, but they're hitting all these price points, and that's good for a product that a billion people use.
I mean, it's the same as the iPad, right?
Totally.
Have as many price points as possible. Mini, iPad, iPad Air, iPad Pro.
Yeah, or even the Mac Pro, right? Any price point starting at $6,000.
Yeah, I don't think you've understood the rules of this game.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think so.
If you want to find our links this week to things we've spoken about, you can head over to the website, relay.fm/connected/290. While you're there, you can send us an email with feedback or follow-up. You can also become a member there, join to support the show directly, which we appreciate. If you want to find Myke online, you can do so on Twitter. He is at iMyke, IMYKE, and he is the host of a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. You can find Federico on Twitter at Viticci, Viticci, and he's the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. You can find me on Twitter as ISMH and my writing at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Storyworth, Uni, and Hover. Until next time, gentlemen, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Adios.